What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Yankees Avenue Show on the Yankees Avenue YouTube channel. As usual, I'm Patrick Hennessy. That's Dan Rourke. Dan, this is our first post-mortem episode. The Yankee season is over. Got swept by the Astros in the ALCS. Last time we did speak to you guys, the vibes were pretty high, but now vibes are pretty low, right, Dan?
I'll be honest with you, man. If we recorded this episode 2 days ago, the vibes would be very low. And while they still are, I got to say, man, I have fully transitioned to off-season mode quicker than ever before. And I guess it's because, I look at this roster and there's so many things wrong with it. But I will say there is reason to be optimistic about what could come this offseason. This team could win, man. This team could win next year. They could. They could. That's all I'm saying. And
it's too soon for this, bro.
Yes. No, it might be too soon. I understand, but I got to have a reason to be happy, right? This team was pathetic in the ALCS, and they disappointed me more than any other Yankees team that I can remember. I think this is a team that probably scarred me the most out of any other Yankees team. But I have an offseason blueprint laid out, Pat, that we will get to sooner or later in this episode, and it will save the Yankees and return us to glory of the franchise that we knew and loved growing up. Because what it is right now is not that. This is not the New York Yankees, what we just saw in this past ALCS. I think we both can agree on that.
No, I agree with you 1,000%. And I think that's why we're going to take this episode to kind of just reflect on the season as a whole, reflect on what we witnessed, reflect on the Yankees elimination, kind of just like break down the 2022 season as a whole. And I think just to start off, I think we could both agree the 2022 season was a massive failure. In any year where the Yankees don't win the World Series, especially coming off a first half of the regular season like they did, where they were on pace for like 120 wins. The fact that you just go out so sadly, and the second half of the season it had its highs and lows, very drastic highs and lows, right? But there were points in the second half where the team was unwatchable. And we were like, it's all right, they're gonna get back into the groove by the time the playoffs come around. And they did. But then they fell right back into their old ways facing the Houston Astros. And I thought it was pretty ironic just because you remember like when the Yankees were on their insane historic run to start the season. Who kind of like killed those vibes and put us back on planet Earth? The Houston Astros. In both series that we played against them, they kind of just set us back to earth and kind of leveled us a little bit. And now I think it's pretty ironic that they were the ones once again to eliminate us in the postseason.
Yeah, I think I do. Before I get into my offseason blueprint and all that, I do have to, own it a little bit. I called for the Houston Astros. I wanted the rematch of the century. And, Astros fans, rightfully so, they're going nuts over that clip we put out a couple of months back, or even probably like a month ago at this rate, where I was saying, yeah, bring me Houston. It blew up in my face. And I said at the time, yo, if it doesn't go our way, that's worst case scenario. That is awful. And that's the spot that we're in right now. The Astros have proved that whether they're cheating or not, 17 and 19, you had that going for you. You can always fall back on the fact that, something fishy was going on. Not the case in 2022. They're just simply the better team. And what was quite obvious in this ALCS is that I think this is the furthest gap ever was, and part of that was injuries. But even if Benintendi, King, DJ Mayhew were there, the Astros are better than us, man. So going forward, this offseason, next trade deadline, and just constructing this roster overall, your mindset has to be, what can we do to this team to get us past the Houston Astros? Because ultimately, that's what's going to always be in our way, it seems. Especially with, they lose these premier free agents like, say, Carlos Correa, automatically replace him with fucking Jeremy Pena. They'll probably lose Jose Altuve in 2 years, and then some prodigy will come up then. So for the foreseeable future, which is like the next 5 to 6 years, the Astros are the dog that we got to beat. Create a roster that's good enough to get past them.
Yeah. And it's kind of sad, though, that like the New York Yankees have to worry about like creating a roster to beat another team. You know what I mean? Like when we were growing up, like, and we sound like old people in like the late 2000s, early 2010s, let's say, like the Yankees were the team to beat every year. And I genuinely can't remember like the last time we went into a season as that team to beat. Maybe 2018, after they got Stanton, but still the Astros were coming off a World Series run. They just acquired Garrett Cole. So I don't even know if you could say that. So
no, I don't think so.
At some point, I want to be that team, bro. Like, I want to be like the Dodgers. And granted, the Dodgers really haven't won anything besides the 2020 World Series. But it's like at some point, and like you kind of mentioned to start things off, like we need an offseason like no other. Like this team needs a complete revamping. And you know what? Like, I know we're going to talk about like players and stuff that we want the Yankees to acquire, but I know we touched on this in past episodes too. I want a whole new front office. I want a whole new coaching staff. Like, I want a whole new philosophy in the Yankees organization that's kind of just like no complacency, no excuses, no settling for mediocrity. And I think the main problem is that as much as we think that we're going to get that with like a new coaching staff, a new front office, I think it all starts at the top. And I think it starts with Hal Steinbrenner. And unfortunately, like he's not going anywhere. So I don't know how you kind of shift that dynamic then.
You're so right, man. And I'm with you. If there's one thing I want right now on my mind, it's not certain players. It's I would love Brian Cashman to be gone. I want a total clean sweep of the front office. However, I decided yesterday that that's something I can't get all that worked up about because, dude, the reports are already coming out. Cashman's probably going to be back. And as you mentioned with Hal, I mean, we can hate him all we want. It's not like you can fire the owner of a team. Like he's going to be here. And if Cashman comes back, Boone is probably coming back as well. I'll say this. You mentioned, the big offseason. And I think it's quite telling where the Yankees' heads are at in terms of what their goal is with each and every season. Because what are the big off seasons that we can remember as Yankee fans? It was after 2008 and after 2013. What are the similarities with those two? They missed the playoffs. Very rare for this Yankee team. And that's when after they would miss the playoffs, they splurge and have huge off seasons. Why not have a huge off season after we don't make the World Series? Is it because you're content with just making the playoffs? If we say miss the playoffs this year, would you go out and splurge and have a $500 million offseason? So the way I see it is this. It's time to start chasing World Series titles. Stop building a roster that is good enough to make the playoffs because we've conquered that. Every single year, we're in October, we're in the dance. And I understand the whole crapshoot argument, which I've aligned with a lot more than most Yankee fans. I understand that is baseball playoffs are a lot more of a crapshoot than any other sport. But the Astros are quickly changing. I feel like almost everything I know about the modern game in a sense. And a big part of that is it doesn't seem like a crapshoot to them, man. They're so good that barring a total upset, which can happen, happened last year against the Braves, could happen this year against the Phillies, you can kind of control your own destiny by the roster you put on the field. If the Yankees go out and have an offseason like they should have, your chances can honestly double because if you're better than the Houston Astros, you can get past an ALCS. We can beat pretty much any NL team. So that's kind of like the whole vibes that I'm putting out in this episode and just that I've got from the ALCS. There's one thing standing in our way, and it's a huge, huge dog we got to battle. It's the Houston Astros, but if you can just get past them, and that starts with having
if someone else can.
Well, yeah, but what am I going to do? You want me to root for the A's to beat the Astros?
Yeah, I know. I'm talking like, for example, like this year in the postseason, I was rooting for the Mariners to beat them. I know you weren't. But if it comes down to the scenario next year, like I am so rooting for whoever the Astros are playing in the ALDS just because I don't want to play them again, bro. Like I know like we want the revenge, like to be the best, you got to beat the best. But it's like we're gonna be like we want Houston next year, and they're gonna beat us again.
I'm not even gonna lie. I want Houston next year because
I know we're
gonna have a crazy
individual, bro. You're a sick individual, and you love the pain. Right. No matter like
no. I love the stakes. They're high. I enjoy
but
them.
How often do the stakes actually flip?
No, you're so right, Pat. I'm delusional. I know it. Here's the thing, though. You mentioned, rooting for the Mariners to beat them or rooting for the Phillies to beat them. While that can happen, because it is baseball, the only way that will happen is luck right now, because no team is really on the same planet. We can be, though, and I'm going to get to my offseason blueprint in just a second. But I will say, man, seeing what the Phillies are doing with Bryce Harper at the front of it, we're a better team than the Phillies, I would say. But they were the ones that were willing to commit 13 years and $330 million to Bryce Harper. And Pat, would they be in the World Series without him right now? I think we both can say no. There's a guy on the free agent market this offseason that can dramatically change the landscape of this lineup, which is the problem. Hold on real quick.
For 1 second.
1 second. The pitching is just fine. The bullpen, you can create a pen good enough to be just fine, especially with some healthy guys coming back. It is the lineup that needs fixing, and it can be fixed this offseason with free agents and trades. Go ahead.
I want to go back to what you said before to say that the Yankees are a better team than the Phillies.
I think they are.
That's where I kind of disagree in the sense of it also depends on how you define team, right? Do the Yankees have better players than the Phillies? Maybe at some positions, but I think as a team, the Phillies are definitely a better team. I mean, you look at what they overcame this year. And just as a whole, it's kind of like the MVP argument, right? Like, is most valuable player the best player, or is he most valuable to his team? Like, you know what I mean? So I think that the Phillies are by far a better team than the New York Yankees. They might not have like a better bullpen. They might not have a better starting rotation. I think their offense is better.
Yeah.
But overall, and also management wise, look at Rob Thompson taking over that team in the middle of the season after Joe Girardi is kind of kicked to the curb, and seeing what he was able to do and completely turn around their season. I definitely think the Philadelphia Phillies are a better team than the New York Yankees. Do they have the same ceiling as the Yankees do? Probably not on paper. But we all know what happens in baseball, and that's why the crapshoot argument can sometimes be valid, because a team could get hot and make an insane run. That's what makes baseball baseball. So I think at the end of the day, like, the Yankees can assemble the most all-star team in the history of baseball, but if they don't have that team collective mindset, and if they don't have that winning mentality, I don't think they're going to go anywhere. Look at the Dodgers this year, Dan. Like, they had a 1-2-3 of Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Trey Turner, and they got bounced in the first round by the Padres, a team where on paper you could say that they're much worse than the Dodgers were. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, you could go out and have the most insane offseason of all time, and you could get Correa, Turner, DeGrom, and Arenado, and re-sign Judge to a 15-year deal. However, if you run into the Astros next year and the Yankees don't have that winning philosophy, that winning mindset, they will get swept once again.
I don't know about the whole winning philosophy and winning mindset thing, but I think your point brings up what we kind of already know about. It's baseball. There's always going to be the factor of anything can happen. You know, whether you want to say that the Phillies are better than the Yankees, which they might be. My ultimate point was no matter what, no team in baseball right now, whether it's the Dodgers, Braves, Phillies, whoever, Yankees, they're not one better than the Astros or really on the same planet as them. So that's kind of what I was saying with that. You do always have to account for anything can happen in the playoffs, but make your chances as high as possible. And the offseason they could have this year could do that, because if they don't, and we, God forbid, run it back with this same squad, sure, we might make the playoffs. We all know what's going to end up happening. No, we're going to get bounced in the ALCS once again by the Houston Astros. So while, yes, it's not a guarantee if you have a crazy good offseason with free agent spending and acquiring good players, ultimately what gives you the best odds of getting to where we need to be, winning 28, is putting the best players on the field. We can get a new manager in. That's great. We can get a new philosophy and just, I don't know, vibes in the clubhouse. That's fine.
I think that's a must, though. I think at this point, like that's kind of just as
But
important
as
as
if we
getting
did that and
players.
We don't improve the players, it's going to be the same story.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Again.
You have to do both. I think they're
but
both
ultimately
just
what matters,
as important.
The players is what's important. You have to put the best possible product on the field. If you don't do that, no matter what you surround them with coaching staff wise, it's not going to matter. So while I'm with you on, at this point, I'd love a clean sweep of the organization. Cashman, you can get rid of Boone as well. That'd be awesome. Start fresh. But if they don't do what they need to do this offseason, player-wise, it's not going to matter at all.
Yeah, but here's my thing, right? And this might be a little bit out there, but I don't really care at this point.
Jeter, Mattingly, 23.
No, I'm not really like on board with that. I mean, just because like I'm not sure
No.
Mattingly's like a great manager. I'm not sure Jeter's even like a great
I think Jeter
executive
would
either.
be dope, but Mattingly, I'm
No, I
off.
think you would like Jeter just for the face of it.
Yes,
like,
no, that is.
Yeah,
I will.
yeah. I don't really
admit
know
that
how
is exactly
good at the
what
job
it is.
would be.
Yeah.
But I will say, I'm super disappointed in the sense of like, these aren't the Yankees, bro. Like nothing. I know, like you say all the time, like, oh no, these are still the New York Yankees. The only thing that's similar to like these Yankees, to the winning Yankees, is just the team. You know what I mean? Like there's no correlation between like a winning culture in the past and this team now. There's nothing, bro. I mean, especially when you have Oswaldo Cabrera and Peraza taking picture with Jose Altuve before game 4 of the ALCS when you're about to get swept. Like these just aren't things that happen in a winning environment. And I know I hate that because it sounds like a boomer type of thing to say, winning environment, winning culture. But the Yankees just they seem to not have that, bro. And I don't know where you're able to find that from. I'm just lost as a whole because I look at this team and I don't know where you fix it. It's like, yeah, we can create an offseason blueprint like you did and go out and get a Sean Murphy. I'm not going to leak it.
Are you trying to spoil my shit, bro?
No, I'm not trying to spoil it. But you know what I mean? Like we could go out and get like solid players. But at the end of the day, it's like, I don't know. Like I am going into next season with zero expectations. my expectations are in the gutter. Dude, I just can't go through another season where I'm like, this is a World Series team. It's different this year. I can't do it.
That'll change. That'll change.
It will.
I
No,
had
it
that
will.
same feeling every single year. And it actually, I remember first after 2018, when we got bounced by the Red Sox, it had me concerned because I was like, man, what now? Like, I don't know if I can get all pumped up for another season just to go through it all. Every single year, it comes back. By next month, we'll be all in, ready to go on the 2023 Yankees. I'll say this about the status of where this franchise is at. You'll see some people that reply to when I tweet saying this isn't the New York Yankees. You'll have opposing fan bases be like, oh, what is this superiority complex that Yankee fans have? Which is true. I think we do have that. And yeah, the Yankees, their 27 World Series rings, they don't really mean anything right now because they haven't won in a while. And that winning culture, it's not there. However, the good thing is that instantly will get restored the second we do win a World Series, which will happen, whether it's next year or fucking 20 years from now. Because once we do get 28, then that's what it is. We have 28 World Series championships, and there's nothing you can say against it once we finally have winning in our recent memory.
Yes, but I will say, like, expanding on that point, Pete, bro, I tweeted this out a couple days ago. Like, people hated, well, it was like 50-50, but I genuinely don't think that the Yankees will ever win a World Series with Aaron Boone leading the team. I just don't, bro. Especially like you look at this postseason, and if you look at, I mean, we talked about it in depth so many times, and you even have Michael K going off about it.
He's been awesome, by the way.
Bro, shout out to Michael K. Like, I'm not like the biggest K guy.
Coming from you.
But yeah, seeing him be completely unhinged and completely uncensored when it has come to this team, I love to see it. Like, I love that. But I genuinely don't think, like, Aaron Boone had one of the worst managed postseasons I've ever seen. And the fact that, like, his job is secure, and I think that the fact, like, going into a postseason next year, I'm going to have even less faith in him than I did this postseason. I mean, bro, ALCS game 1 was punted. Like, we know this. The game was punted. He threw in the towel when they were down by 2 runs. Even down by 1 run, like, if you want to, like, examine it like that. But I just can't see a scenario where the Yankees do, find that winning culture once again with a guy as manager who doesn't seem to have it inside of him. You know what I mean? No, I feel like in order for the Yankees to get that job done, they have to score like 15 runs every game to take that opportunity out of his hands.
I don't think it's that dramatic. I'll say this. Boone did not do me, a Boone guy, any favors with this postseason. There were multiple times, whether you look at the ALDS or the ALCS, where the bullpen management was not executed properly. And I won't repeat like my whole thing, but if you have one thing without the other, it's still going to end in the same result. You have to, first order of business is get a better product on the field. If there was an order of what's the most important, it's the players on the field. That I am absolutely firm about. I'm about doing a clean sweep of the organization.
I know, but we know it's not going to happen. I think, and that's what's bothering me the most.
It's tough for me to talk about at this point because I don't
know.
It's tough to really plan around that. And by the way, I am kind of running out of time because I have baseball today coming up. Unless you have another point, can I get to my off-season blueprint? Yo, what's up, guys? Dan here. Brief interruption to let you know that our friends over at Best Jersey Throwbacks are having an insane deal. Buy 3, get 1 free sale for a limited time. They have all our favorite Yankee players like Aaron Judge, Derek Jeter, Oswaldo Cabrera, and many, many more. Also, have other MLB teams as well. So if you're looking for players like Shohei Ohtani, Julio Rodriguez, and many more, you also got NBA jerseys, NFL, NHL, and even custom jerseys as well. So why spend over $150 on jerseys when you can buy them for $50 or less at bestjerseythrowbacks.com and get 4 jerseys for the price of 1? They provide an affordable buying experience for fans passionate about their favorite players and teams. Your purchase also comes with a tracking number and 24-hour customer service. Click the link in the description to check them out. You will not regret it.
Tell us about Sean Murphy, Dan.
Okay, here's my off-season blueprint. So the way I did it out, and I'll put the little document up on the screen. What did you see? I color-coded it, Pat? Come on, give me some props. I didn't go to college and I color-coded the document. Anyways, so I started off with saying,
use docs.
I started out with saying, and this is what I mentioned in the beginning, the Yankees only have panic off seasons when they miss the playoffs. Example, 2008, 2009, 2013 to 2014. It's time to change that.
What about 2016, Dan?
Well, that was all kind of the same vibe. I mean, 2013 to 2016, I look at that as the same era. And that was still when Jacoby Ellsbury was on the team, Carlos Beltran, same thing. It's time to change that and splurge our way to a World Series after another failure of an October. So the way I did it was I went through the Yankees lineup in the most recent game of the ALCS, and I would go through each player, safe or not safe. Catcher, Jose Trevino. I list him as safe. However, I would like to upgrade, and that starts with Sean Murphy from the Oakland A's. Had over a 5 WAR this season for them. 18 home runs, 120 WRC plus. And he basically is Jose Trevino who can hit, because Trevino's big game is framing, while Murphy isn't as good. He does rank in the 85th percentile. So that would be a huge upgrade for a lineup that needs to start hitting. Trevino, love the guy. The second half, he was pretty much non-existent. What do you got to say?
I was going to make an argument in the sense of I like Sean Murphy. I do. But I think that the package that you kind of suggested, which was what, Peraza, Wells, etc.
That was I worded that very weirdly. That's not exactly the package. That's a headliner. I meant to say but
okay. But still,
but either way, I would actually be willing to do Peraza and Wells, because acquiring a catcher who had a 5+ WAR through the 2026 season he would be signed through, that would be huge. And you could you would trade Jose Trevino, by the way. I just thought about that before this. That would be awesome, because then Ben Workvet would become the backup catcher, and you could 100% get value for Trevino.
Hear me out.
I will.
I would prefer Contreras. He's a free agent. You could get him for just dollars.
I thought about that first, Pat, and it's a good idea, but the defense, dude, that would be kind of going back to Gary Sanchez. While Contreras is a much better hitter. No. Contreras is a much better hitter at this point. Like, the defense would be a dramatic drop off with where you're at with Trevino down to Contreras. With Murphy, the benefit is once again, not as good as Trevino. It's pretty damn similar, and you're also adding a bat that is significantly better. Moving on. First base, Anthony Rizzo. I have him as safe. He's probably going to opt out. I would love to re-sign him to another 2-year deal. I've said this a bunch. If there is a problem with the culture and even just the player himself, Anthony Rizzo is not that. What's wrong with the Yankees roster is not Anthony Rizzo. I would like to have him back. 2 years, probably around $16 million again. Second base, Gleyber Torres, gone. I would like him traded. Nothing against him in particular, but with Anthony Volpe on the rise and a certain free agent I'd like to sign, there's really not just much. There's not room for Gleyber Torres. So the way I see it is this. Second base, Anthony Volpe will be called up by hopefully June at the latest. He'll either play second or short. In the meantime, till he is, you can have IKF or Oswaldo Cabrera play second base. Third base, Josh Donaldson, gone. If you can't find a trade, eat the contract and dump him. DJ LeMahieu, he can be the everyday third baseman. When he was healthy this year, first half, had an OPS over 800. We know how good the defense was. Shortstop, IKF, just mentioned him, bench. I think he has a place on the roster as a backup infielder. Not against that. Can play second base till Volpe is called up, or shortstop, whatever. Here's the big fish. Trey Turner. Want him bad. He is exactly what this team needs. A 7-year deal, or 8, $32 million a year it would probably cost. He's going to be expensive. I'm not dumb. How nice would it be to have Trey Turner playing shortstop or second, wherever you want to put him? Last year, bro, 160 games, 298 average, a 128 WRC plus, 21 homers, 27 stolen bases, a WAR over 6. A lot of people have mentioned Carlos Correa. Even without the fact that I still not a huge fan of Correa, although he is a damn good baseball player and a pretty damn good analyst on TBS, I will say Trey Turner would be my guy. Leadoff hitter, good defense, quick, would totally.
Can I tell you why I like Correa though?
Why?
One, it's gonna be a lot cheaper. We could agree
Not necessarily.
on that, right? I think so. I think that he'll probably demand a smaller contract.
I don't think so. He had a year pretty much. If he played the full year, he missed I think 20 games, but if he had the best offensive season of any shortstop, the defense is still there. I think you're looking at $250 million for either one. Probably. That's maybe.
Second, I think Correa provides an edge, like I talked about before. I think it's like that different type of culture in the clubhouse that I think would be cool.
That's fair. I think that's a plus for Correa, no doubt. Left field, Oswaldo Cabrera, bench, but I mentioned him before. He can play second. And also, he would kind of have a DJ LeMahieu 2019 type role where he may not be in the everyday lineup, but I see him playing 120-plus games, whether it's giving a break to an infielder or an outfielder that needs rest, or I pretty much consider him to be the next guy in line when anybody gets injured. So he'll end up playing. Don't worry about him. Center field, Harrison Bader, obviously safe. Yankee for life. Right field, Aaron Judge, safe. Signed to an 8-year, $320 million contract and named him captain. Giancarlo Stanton, safe. I put GOAT next to his because he's just awesome. And here's my lineup, Pat. And then I have one more thing to say after this. And then I do kind of actually have to go. I did not manage this time well at all. But here's my lineup. I know. You're a funny guy, Pat. Lineup. How do you like this, Pat? Trey Turner, Aaron Judge, Anthony Rizzo, Giancarlo Stanton, DJ LeMahieu. I forgot to mention Andrew Benintendi, open to bringing him back. Would prefer Brendan Nimmo, but I'll be realistic about this. Most certainly not getting Brandon Nimmo and Trey Turner in the same offseason. We'd love to have Andrew Benintendi back, $15 million a year. Turner, Judge, Rizzo, Stanton, LeMahieu, Benintendi batting 6th, Harrison Bader batting 7th, Sean Murphy batting 8th and catching, batting 8th and catching, rounding out the order at number 9, Anthony Volpe once he's called up by June. All this would have the Yankees payroll, which right now with salaries that are already on the books in 2023 plus estimated arbitration, they're at $180 million. My situation here adds $106 million to that payroll, would have the Yankees at $287 million payroll in 2023, which I got to say, yes, that's high, but for all I just mentioned, you would think that would be like a $350 million payroll.
Like
$287 million
over here, dude.
That ain't that bad. Hey, I used to work at Verizon selling cell phones. What do you think about all that, Pat?
I like it. However, I will say that if I'm just being honest, based on off seasons past, I know you're going based off of miss the postseason, go all out. Cool. I don't see that happening. I think that especially if the Yankees give Judge like that massive contract, I think said 8 years, $320 million. I can't see them going out and getting a Trey Turner and a Sean Murphy and re-signing Benintendi and re-signing Rizzo.
Which is
I just
laughable.
can't see it. It's laughable because it's obviously doable, especially for a franchise like the New York Yankees. But I think my biggest fear right now is that the Yankees are going to give Judge that insane contract and then be completely done for the offseason after that and just try to run it back with whatever they have. That's my biggest fear. But Dan, I love your plan. I probably would have just swapped out. I probably maybe would have swapped out Contreras for Murphy and then also Correa for Turner. But either
I hear
way,
your vibe on
satisfied.
Contreras. I mean, like you always want to be able to give money instead of giving up prospects. But with Murphy,
just
I'm
because
so
I think
intrigued
Wells
because
could be a huge part of the future, especially like with Rizzo's back and
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, ideally you don't give up both, but I'm so opposed to prospects. And somebody said, why not? Why would you sign Turner when you have Oswaldo? That's the same reason we don't have Bryce Harper right now, or the same reason we don't have Manny Machado. Well, and I can understand why somebody would say this. They're like, oh, call up the kids or let the kids play. I understand that vibe, but I'm just so over prospects. And that's kind of what leads me to, putting Wells on the table. And Peraza, I love the guy, but for a while now, I've kind of figured like
Peraza has no future with the Yankees. Like
it's Volpe or Peraza, and you're not going to not go with Volpe. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think he's definitely going to get dealt this offseason. And then Kleber, while his value isn't what it would have been if you traded him a couple years back, you can get something back for him. Trevino, too, 3.5 WAR catcher. And if we ultimately have to go with him and we don't get Murphy, that's not the Yankees' biggest problem. I won't have an issue with that. But if you do get Murphy, you could deal Trevino. I got baseball today at 11:30. I'm a piece of shit. I said we'd answer some questions today. Don't think we can. But let's
don't blame me.
You know what we'll do? You know what we'll do? We got to go over the schedule real quick. But let's do a little like off-season Q&A episode maybe in a couple of days. Are you down for that? Like,
I'm down.
Strictly answer
We owe it to them.
We do. Schedule-wise, we're going to go back to our normal. The next week or through the World Series is probably going to be a little wonky. Like we'll probably try to do like that Q&A episode, but nothing really set in stone. Once the World Series is over and we get into off-season mode, back to Monday and Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Yeah. Anything else you want to say, Pat?
It's all, no. I have nothing, dude. The Yankees have left me at a loss for words.
There's hope, though. There's hope because Trey Turner will be a New York Yankee. Pat, I love you, by the way, man. This has been a blast. This is kind of like the unofficial close of the first season of the Yankees Avenue Show.
Huge success, I'd say. Huge success.
Couldn't have been a bigger success. It really couldn't have. Had a blast doing it. Numbers have been awesome. You guys at home watching have been so dope. And yeah, dude, we'll be doing this for a long while. We'll be back next year. We'll be a couple times a week throughout the off season. That's a wrap, man. All right. We'll follow Unhinged Patrick on Twitter. You've been tweeting a lot lately, bro.
I have.
It brings joy to my ears. Eyes.
Yeah, dude. For the good old days, I kind of got back on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. But yeah, Unhinged Patrick, Dan Allen Rourke on Twitter, follow Yankees Avenue on Instagram, all that bullshit. Subscribe if you're new. Drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe, blah blah blah, whatever I just said. Rate, review, subscribe. See you guys next time. Let's go Yankees.